Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Rajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jayom Vishnupad Paramahamsa Privajakacharya Astotar Tata Shri Srimad Nitya Leela Pravista Om is Divine Grace Srila Abhay Charanarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj ISKCON's founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhāgavatam Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Govinda Deva Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi Haribol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanandi Hare Krishna. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Dinamani. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Askita Deshatarane. Verse number 6, am I correct? Reading from the Srimad Bhāgavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 8, entitled Dhruva Maharaj Leaves Home, text number 6. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat Nastapareshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Athata Kirtaye Vamsam Punya Kirte Krudvaha Swayambhuvasyapi Manor Harer Samsa Janmanaha Adhata Kirtaye Vamsam. Everybody can follow on their phone. Only Punya Kirte Karudvaha Svayam Bhavasyapi Manor Hadir Samsa Janmanaha Athataha Kirtaye Vamsam Punya Kirte Karudvaha Swayambhuvasyapi Manor Hadir Samsa Janmanaha Adhataha Kirtaye Vamsam Punya Kirte Karudvaha Swayambhuvasyapi Manor Harer Sam Sajanmanaha. Ataha, now, Ataha, hereafter, Kirtaye, I shall describe, Bamsam, dynasty, Punya Kirte, celebrated for virtuous activities. Krudvaha, O best of the crews, Svayambhuvasya, of Svayambhuva, Api, even, Mano, of the Manu, Harer, of the personality of Godhead, Amsa, plenary expansion, Amsa, part of, Janmanaha, born of. Maitreya continued, O best of the Kuru dynasty, I shall now describe before you the descendants of Svayambhuva Manu, who was born of a part of a plenary expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Lord Brahma is a powerful expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although Brahma is Jiva Tattva, he is empowered by the Lord, and therefore he is considered a plenary expansion of the Supreme Godhead. Sometimes it happens that when there is no suitable living being to be empowered to act as Brahma, the Supreme Lord himself appears as Brahma. Brahma is the plenary expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Svayambhuva Manu was the direct son of Brahma. The great sage Maitreya is now going to explain about the descendants of this Manu, all of whom are widely celebrated for their pious activities. Before speaking of these pious descendants, Maitreya has already described the descendants of impious activities representing anger, envy, unpalatable speech, quarrel, fear, and death. Purposefully, therefore, he is next relating the history of the life of Dhruva Maharaj, the most pious king within this universe. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Tatatisva Vadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitams Cha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bando Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namo Stute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshvari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sendubhya Eva Cha Titanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktabrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpa Drumada Srimad Ratnagara Singhasana Sto Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Prestalabi Savyamano Smarami. In the Temple of Jewels, underneath the desired trees of Vrindavan, seated upon an effulgent throne, the divine couple, Sri Sri Radha Govinda, are served by their most confidential, loving associates. We beg to offer our respectful obeisances unto them. Ataha kirteye vamsam punya kirte karudvaha svayam bhavasyapi manor hader samsa janmana. Maitreya continued, O best of the Kuru dynasty, I shall now describe before you the descendants of Svayambhuva Manu, who was part of the plenary expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the purport, Prabhupada says how Maitreya purposefully means there's a purpose. One who is directing that purpose has a very keen, intelligent, and well thought out plan in making that activity purposeful. So he is describing the descendants of impious activities first. Anger, envy, unpalatable speech, quarrel, fear, and death. And now we'll relate not only that which is pious, but the supreme example, topmost piety. Now we are going to hear, he's relating the history of life of Dhruva Maharaj. Prabhupada calls him the most pious king within this universe. So many things will be said about the glories of Dhruva Maharaj, but perhaps most remarkably, he has his own planet, which is as good as the Vaikuntha Lokas, never to be destroyed. Everything in this material world will come to an end. Prabhupada writes in one place, describing the different partial and complete devastations at the end of Lord Brahma's day and night, at the end of his lifetime. One should keep in mind all these devastations. How could you, in our little lifetime, we're just so barely aware of, 30, 50, 70 years or whatever. But we're talking millions, billions, in the case of Lord Brahma's complete life, trillions of years. Because at heart, or in reality, Nahanyate hanyamane sharire, we have no birth, no death, we're immortal, we're eternal. We are ultimately beyond time. we were hearing from Jayadvaita Maharaj yesterday, the statement of Maitreya. My dear Vidura, I have summarily explained the causes of devastation. One who hears this description 3 times attains piety and washes the sinful contamination from his soul. And Prabhupada, in the purport, descendants of irreligion and falsity, born one after another, bluffing, cheating, greed, cunning. Particularly and especially, this is the basis of how everything works in Kali Yuga, the age of, there's many words that describe the age of Kali Yuga, the age of deterioration, the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. Prabhupada even says in one place, the age of disagreement, bluffing, cheating, greed, cunning, anger, envy, quarrel, harsh speech, death, fear, severe pain, and hell. If a person is pious and hears about these causes of devastation, he will feel hatred for all these and will cause his advancement in a life of piety. Piety refers to the process of cleansing the heart as recommended by Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya has brought the Yuga Dharma, the Kali Yuga Dharma, the Sankirtan Yagna, which is based on Chaito Darpana Marchanam, Bhava Mahadevagni Nivarpanam, cleansing the heart from the fire of devastation, material existence. As recommended by Lord Chaitanya, one has to cleanse the dust from the mirror of the mind, and then advancement on the path of liberation begins. Prabhupada opens today's purport by describing the position of Lord Brahma. If that's going to make, noise with the chop, then it should be all the way in the back of the room. That's not a chop? Okay. Hare Krishna. Lord Brahma is a powerful expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although Brahma is Jiva Tattva, he is empowered by the Lord, and therefore he is considered a plenary expansion of the Supreme Godhead. Sometimes it happens that when there is no suitable living being to be empowered to act as Brahma, the Supreme Lord himself appears as Brahma. When Advaita Acharya was seeing the fallen condition of the people and sincerely wanted to save them, uplift them, he felt himself incapable of doing it by himself. Advaita Acharya is the direct expansion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's ultimately Mahavishnu himself. And we hear and we understand from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, only Krishna himself, or one he so appoints, designates, and empowers, can actually give love of Godhead, love of Krishna, in the topmost realm, Goloka Vrindavan, Braja, Prema, Bhakti. And that is the glory, especially and particularly of Lord Chaitanya, that he is descending, Golokara, Premadana, Harinam, Sankirtan. He's bringing the Kali Yuga Dharma, the Prema Dharma of Goloka Vrindavan to this world, perfectly intact and fully empowered in the form of the chanting of his own holy names, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Prabhupada says in the Bhāgavatam that usually or mostly there is an empowered acharya or pure devotee who will descend into human society and perform this most responsible work. But sometimes the Lord himself comes. So Lord Chaitanya has made this Kali Yuga very, very, very fortunate by appearing within it. So Svayambhuva Manu is a very, very special personality, being the direct son of Lord Brahma, who is the most pious living entity in the universe and entrusted with the greatest responsibility. The living entity in this universe with the greatest and most responsible position in direct connaissance or authorized by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But we can see, and there's many examples, Brahma Vimohan Leela, Lord Brahma becomes bewildered. We're now about to celebrate the appearance of Lord Nrsingadev. When everything is all said and done, Lord Nrsingadev, he said to Lord Brahma, "My dear Brahma, O great Lord," small letter L, born from the lotus, giving benedictions to such demons only, what is the words used, indulges them. I warn you, do not give such benedictions again. So the pure devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu excels even the topmost responsible living entity in this universe. And in the case of Lord Brahma, the acharyas describe his offense was not nearly as severe as Indra, who contemplated and put into action a crime against humanity. He wanted to devastate the entire Vrindavan and all the inhabitants. Lord Brahma offered the most beautiful prayers. Tate Nukampam Shishukshamano, just one of them. I believe that's verse number 6 of the 14th chapter. And 7-year-old Krishna, he didn't give any indication to Brahma whether he was displeased or pleased after these beautiful prayers. So his mood of penance and intense soul searching was so great that his prayer was answered by Lord Krishna when he was given the opportunity to take the most pivotal and important role in Krishna's next incarnation as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as Brahma Haridas, Thakur Haridas, who Prabhupada describes in his introduction to Srimad Bhāgavatam, a short sketch of the life of Lord Chaitanya. He describes Haridas Thakur as the dean or authority of the chanting of the holy name. The dean in the college. Parama Vidvan. Lord Chaitanya called Haridas Thakur the most learned personality. What is the definition of knowledge and one who has learned it properly? One who knows the precarious and unwanted position in this material world of birth and death and the process to get out of it is the most learned personality. And Thakur Haridas knew this process very well because he was chanting the holy name 300,000 times a day. We just completed in our morning reading some weeks or a few months ago the amazing Harinam Chintamani. Sometimes Lord Chaitanya, he wants the devotees to describe Krishna consciousness in all levels, to glorify that devotee. Pradyumna Mishra, I wish to hear from you, Lord Chaitanya, the topics that you discussed with Lord Chaitanya. You're either one move. This is impersonalism if, you can't see your face. That you discussed with Ramananda Roy on the banks of the Godavari. My dear Pradyumna Mishra, these topics I go hear from Ramananda Roy. Indeed, I do not know as much as he. If you want to hear these topics, you must go and hear them from him. So, what we are seeing here, Maitreya's opening of this chapter by describing the bad aspects that are here in this material world and in this universe to prompt and to encourage and inspire and even push us all to seek out that which is truly praiseworthy and will truly bring us to the level of real happiness. This Sankirtan movement, unlike this material world, which disables us, it enables us. What is it? That song by Govinda Das? We get a little drop of water. Right. Not a little, but fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. So this is perhaps most poignantly and beautifully displayed in the last 5 chapters, the first 5 chapters of the 12th canto, which are the last 5 chapters that Maharaj Parikshit is present. The description of the symptoms of Kali Yuga, chapter 2. Chapter 3, the Bhumi Gita, with the earth planet herself. Shukadeva Goswami is revealing to Maharaj Parikshit and all those assembled there what Goddess Bhumi has to think of all the impious people, especially the leaders and so-called rulers that are present on this planet. It's described in another place that, a mother's love for her children, she can tolerate so many things. So Mother Earth tolerates so many things going on this planet, but she cannot tolerate the presence of even one liar. So hence, truthfulness is the last leg of religion in Kali Yuga. And then as the coda, the final statement of Shukadeva Goswami in the 4th chapter, 4 types of universal devastation. And then chapter 5, final instructions to Maharaj Parikshit. So Shukadeva Goswami, just like here, purposefully narrating all this for the sake of Maharaj Parikshit. Of course, Maharaj Parikshit was chosen to be the recipient, the hearer of Srimad Bhāgavatam, so that Krishna could expand himself into his literary incarnation, especially in this Kali Yuga, those who have lost their way in the dense darkness of Kali Yuga through all the bluffing, cheating, anger, nepotism, etc., will get light from this Bhāgavad Purana. Shukadeva Goswami said, Almighty Parikshit, I have related to you the narrations of all great kings who spread their fame throughout the world and then departed. This is verse 14 of chapter 3. My real purpose was to teach transcendental knowledge and renunciation. Stories of kings lend power and opulence to these narrations, but do not in themselves constitute the ultimate aspect of knowledge. The person who desires pure devotional service to Lord Krishna should hear the narrations of Lord Uttamashloka's glorious qualities, the constant chanting of which destroys everything inauspicious. The devotee should engage in such listening in regular daily assemblies and should also continue his hearing throughout the day. Shukadeva Goswami previously describing all these great kings. Over the course of time, all of their accomplishments are smashed to dust, and the only thing left is just the account of their names, if at all. Then Maharaj Parikshit asks this question. My dear Shukadeva Goswami, how can persons living in this age of Kali, how Parikshit received the age of Kali? Maharaj Parikshit knew very well what Kali Yuga meant. Mischief-mongering Kali Yuga. Killing the cow and the bull, the very embodiment of Dharma and religion. How can persons in this age rid themselves of the cumulative contamination of this age? Kindly explain this to me. Please explain the different ages of universal history. So when a devotee asks a question, he's asking it for the benefit of everyone else, although he fully knows the answer himself. The special qualities of each age, the duration of cosmic maintenance and destruction, the movement of time, which is the direct representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. My dear King, in the beginning, during Satya Yuga, the age of truth, religion is present with all four of its legs intact and is carefully maintained by the people of that age. The four legs of powerful religion are truthfulness, mercy, austerity, and charity. The people of Satya Yuga are for the most part self-satisfied, merciful, friendly to all, peaceful, sober, and tolerant. We were hearing during the Ram Navami time, the pastimes of Lord Ramachandra, I believe chapters 11 and 12 from the 9th canto. And Prabhupada says in one place there that the symptoms of Satya Yuga can be invoked at once by taking shelter of the Hare Krishna movement and following the instructions of Lord Chaitanya in his Krishna consciousness movement. So, in the association of devotees, we're properly following, this is there. Self-satisfied, merciful, friendly to all. This is why Prabhupada has coined the term, preaching is the essence, giving Krishna consciousness. This will be the best means for the devotees to be able to develop and exhibit all of these qualities. By ministering to the people in general, to all living entities, this is the best way to strengthen, deepen, and further all of these wonderful qualities to create loving relationships between the already existing devotees. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's third and final instruction to Srila Prabhupada 2 weeks before his departure, which was in essence the same instruction given to him in his very first meeting, even before getting up from obeisances to even have a introductory comprehensive opinion of the great personality sitting before him as a 25-year-old young man. I think that you should turn yourself into, you should preach this movement to those not conversant with the language of the already established members. This will do good for you and for those who will help you. They take their pleasure from within, see all things equally, and always endeavor diligently for spiritual perfection. In Treta Yuga, each leg of religion is gradually reduced by 1/4 by the influence of the 4 pillars of irreligion: lying, violence, dissatisfaction, and quarrel. In Treta Yuga, people are devoted to ritual performances and severe austerities. Lord Chaitanya's movement is not in Treta Yuga, even beyond Satya Yuga. And Srila Prabhupada would not encourage and would caution us to get overly involved in these things. And even reluctantly, or he didn't want to, but he felt he had to for the higher purpose of getting the residents of Vrindavan to accept the establishment of the Krishna Balaram Mandir, which most important temple for his movement all over the world to be firmly established. As early as 1966, Prabhupada wanted to start an American house in Vrindavan. Daivi Shakti Mataji and her hallmark class to begin the week-long celebration of the recently observed 50th anniversary described how then Bhakta Steve, who was one of the only people who had a job, now of course Srila Satsvarup Das Goswami, gave Prabhupada, upon his request, a $1966, it's a lot of money back then, donation. Prabhupada requested to start an American house in Vrindavan. So that all the different rituals are going on. But Prabhupada said, I considered that the chanting of Hare Krishna was the real installation of the deities. They are not excessively violent or very lusty after sensual pleasure. Their interest lies primarily in religiosity, economic development, and regulated sense gratification. And they achieve prosperity by following the prescriptions of the 3 Vedas. Although in this age society evolves into 4 separate classes, O king, most people are brahmanas. In Dwapara Yuga, the religious qualities of austerity, truth, mercy, and charity are reduced to 1/2 by their irreligious counterparts: dissatisfaction, untruth, violence, and enmity. A good example in the Mahabharata is the company of Duryodhana, Sakuni, and Dushashan, engage in such nefarious activities, trying to disrobe Draupadi and the assembly of all the leading kings. In the Dwapara age, people are interested in glory and are very noble. They devote themselves to the study of the Vedas, possess great opulence, support large families, and enjoy life with vigor. Of the 4 classes, the Kshatriyas and Brahmins are most numerous. In the age of Kali, only 1/4 of the religious principles remain. That last remnant will continuously be decreased by the ever-increasing principles of irreligion and will finally be destroyed. In the Kali age, people tend to be greedy, ill-behaved, and merciless, and they fight one another without good reason. Unfortunate and obsessed with material desires, the people of Kali Yuga are almost all Sudras and barbarians. The material modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, whose permutations are observed within a person's mind, are set into motion by the power of time. When the mind, intelligence, and senses are solidly fixed in the mode of goodness, that time should be understood as Satya Yuga, the age of truth. People take pleasure in knowledge and austerity. So we want to keep in mind time here. When there is a predominance of cheating, lying, sloth, sleepiness, violence, depression, lamentation, bewilderment, fear, and poverty, that age is Kali, the age of the mode of ignorance. Because of the bad qualities of the age of Kali, human beings will become short-sighted, unfortunate, gluttonous, lustful, and poverty-stricken. The women, becoming unchaste, will freely wander from one man to the next. Cities will be dominated by thieves. The Vedas will be contaminated by speculative interpretations of atheists. Political leaders will virtually consume the citizens, and the so-called priests and intellectuals will be devotees of their bellies and genitals. Businessmen will engage in petty commerce and earn their money by cheating. Even when there is no emergency, people will consider any degraded occupation quite acceptable. In Kali Yuga, men will be wretched and controlled by women. They will reject their fathers, brothers, and other relatives and friends, and will instead associate with the sisters and brothers of their wives. Thus, their conception of friendship will be based exclusively on sexual ties. Uncultured men will accept charity on behalf of the Lord and will earn their livelihood by making a show of austerity and wearing a mendicant's dress. Those who know nothing about religion will mount the high seat and presume to speak on religious principles. In the age of Kali, people's minds will always be agitated. They will become emaciated by famine and taxation, and will always be disturbed by fear of drought. They will lack adequate clothing, food, and drink, and will be unable to properly rest, have sex, or bathe themselves, and will have no ornaments to decorate their bodies. In fact, the people of Kali Yuga will gradually come to appear like ghostly, haunted creatures. In Kali Yuga, men will develop hatred for each other even over a few coins. Giving up all friendly relations, they will be ready to lose their own lives and kill even their own relatives. Men will no longer protect their elderly parents, their children, or their respective wives. Thoroughly degraded, they will care only to satisfy their own bellies and genitals. O king, in this age of Kali, people's intelligence will be diverted by atheism, and they will almost never offer sacrifice to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the supreme spiritual master of the universe. Although the great personalities who control the three worlds all bow down to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, the petty and miserable human beings of this age will not do so. So this chapter, very, very frightening, all of these things. Again, we're very fortunate that we're in Lord Chaitanya's yuga. It was right here, some 3 or 4 years ago, Gopal Champu asked His Holiness Kadamba Kanamaj, how do we, it's Kali Yuga, how are we going to, it's such terror. And Maharaj just didn't miss a beat, and he said, this is not Kali Yuga, it is Lord Chaitanya's Yuga. It can be Lord Chaitanya's Yuga for you if you take the umbrella that he's offering and hold it tight over your head. Then the rain and all the, we're going to hear, Dhruva Maharaj fights with the Yakshas. They create all these illusions and all this stool and urine and vomit is flying from the sky, volleys of stones shot from like machine guns, naked demons and demonesses with their hair hanging loose, shouting cruel and savage slogans, kill him, chop him up, pierce him. But Dhruva Maharaj just let forth his Narayan Astra bow, and all of this illusion was dispersed. And Prabhupada says for us that Narayan Astra is the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Everything dispersed. So I've read up to verse 44 in this chapter. And here, with great encouragement and great inspiration, the last verses of this incredible chapter, Bhumi Gita, the second of 2 chapters describing the horrors of Kali Yuga, verse number 51, very famous verse, very important verse. Kaler dosanade rajan, asti hek okam ek, hasti ek mahadgunad, kirtanadeva krishnasya, mukta sangha param prajet. My dear king, although Kali Yuga is an ocean of faults, there is still one good quality. Just narrated an ocean of bad qualities. If you're thrown in the ocean, you're going to die, no matter how strong a swimmer you may be. No matter how much good karma, you're beautiful, you got money, you got fame, you got intelligence, you will sink ultimately. But if you have one life preserver, and actually, even better example, if you're even lifted just 6 inches above the water and you don't have to swim anymore. One good quality about this age, that simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, one can become free from material bondage and be promoted to the transcendental kingdom. And the purport by the humble servants of His divine grace say, after mentioning the innumerable faults of this age of Kali, Shukadeva Goswami now mentions its one brilliant aspect. Just as one powerful king can kill innumerable thieves, one brilliant spiritual quality can destroy all the contamination of this age. It is impossible to overestimate the importance of the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rāma, Hare Rāma, Rāma Rāma, Hare Hare. Kirtaya dayato Vishnum, Tretayam yajato mukai, Norpare paricharyam, Kalota dari kirtanat. Whatever result was obtained in Satya Yuga by meditating on Vishnu, in Treta Yuga by performing sacrifices, and in Dwapara Yuga by serving the Lord's lotus feet. Everything that you could have possibly obtained and accomplished in all the other yugas, everything, and so much more, can be obtained in Kali Yuga simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And thus, Shukadeva Goswami concludes this chapter. Tomorrow is the most auspicious day of Akshaya Tritiya, and I would like to conclude today's class by just mentioning some of the highlights of what is Akshaya Tritiya. Akshaya literally means unobstructed. The gates to Vaikuntha are open. There are only 2 days in the year that this takes place. Today, Akshaya Tritiya, the 3rd day of the waxing moon of the month of Vaishak, and Kartik Shukla Navami, the 9th day of the waxing moon of the month of Kartik, which is the day after Gopastami. So, if you, by your own will, desire to leave this world, this is a very good day to do it, because the gates to Vaikuntha will be open. Lord Parshuram, this is his appearance day. Mother Ganga, by the prayers and desire of King Bhagirath, came to this world on this day. This day marks the beginning of Satya Yuga. Everyone has read Sudama Brahman visits Lord Krishna in the Krishna book. That took place on this day. Krishna accepted the paltry tripped rice wrapped up in a little cloth given to him by his loyal and devoted wife. And Lord Krishna proclaimed that this is the greatest gift that I have ever received. And upon returning home, he found his very, very humble little dwelling turned into a palace more opulent than King Indra. So that happened today. The Pandavas received the Akshaya Patra, and Duryodhana, scheming to cause mischief and trouble for his cousin brothers, sent Durvasa Muni, who kind of has a good record in history of, getting angry unjustifiably. You can read in the 9th canto, Durvasa Muni offending Maharaj Ambarish. He got himself into big, big trouble because of that. So you go with your 10,000 disciples and visit Yudhishthira and company in the forest, and because you are uninvited guests, he must feed you, the 10,000 disciples, and you go right at the time when Draupadi has finished her meals, because she had the benediction that she could feed any number of people as long as she hadn't taken her meals. And Lord Krishna, what are we going to do? Is there anything left? No, it's all gone. Show me the pot. There's one tiny, and just like a finger, one piece of rice. Krishna was satisfied, and Durvasa Muni and all this, and they felt embarrassed. They were full. We can't eat. And they just left that place without even saying goodbye. So that happened today. Srila Vyasadeva started narrating the Mahabharata with Ganesh as described, to write it down. Those things are listed as a very auspicious day to begin a activity. And of course, we want to begin or rededicate ourselves to our devotional activities. And so tomorrow, of course, has been chosen as a most glorious day to begin the most heralded and looked for and anticipated Kadamba Cafe, which was the... Excuse me? The Harinam will be somewhere outside tomorrow because it is night's weather. I haven't thought that far in advance, but we will announce that for everybody to know. So it is 9 o'clock. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Shri Shri Radha Govinda Deva Ki, Shri Shri Gaurnitai Ki, Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhaja Devi Ki, Nitai Gaur Premanandi Haribo, Hare Krishna. Phil, can you turn that off?